Imagine you map out a road trip. You include the route you'll travel, the guest houses you'll stay in along the way, and the money you'll need. You've defined the scope of your trip. If you add side trips to your route, or choose to stay at 5-star hotels while you're traveling, it will exceed the scope of your plan, thereby increasing the time and money spent. Like a road trip, a project has a scope. This defines everything you need to do to get from objectives to the results. If you change the project's scope, it's likely to have implications for the project's cost, time, and quality. Project scope is defined as all the work required to complete a project's deliverables. By making it clear exactly what is required, you also make it clear what's not required. So project scope is like a boundary around a project, with everything required to complete it on the inside and everything else outside. If you don't draw a boundary clearly, too little may be put into a project and it will fail to meet requirements. Putting in too much could lead to schedules not being met and costs getting too high. Just as the project has a scope, the product also has a scope. It's defined by all of the components, functions, and features the product must have to meet requirements, but not to exceed these. Project scope is the work required to deliver the product, so project scope is based on product scope. If new features are added to the product, it impacts product scope as well as increases project scope. At the same time, if the project budget is cut, you may need to decrease quality or amount of work completed, which will impact product scope. So you see how product scope and project scope are different, yet very closely related and intertwined. Scope creep is what happens when the scope of a project changes, usually an increase, without the change being managed. Often these changes seem minor, just a tweak here or there to improve things. But over time, unmanaged changes add up and can have a major impact on project costs, schedules, and quality. There are a few main causes of scope creep. Unexpected scope-related issues often arise during a project, and these can change the project's requirements or raise its complexity. For example, a recent change in a safety regulation causes the project manager of a construction project to also consider additional training. This will push the project scope beyond what was planned and may impact the schedule and budget. Usually, everyone with an interest in a project wants it to produce the best possible result, so it's natural to want to go beyond what's required. For example, by adding extra features to a product. But this kind of perfectionism can change the scope of a project and end up costing too much time and money. Stakeholders may make requests that are beyond the original scope of a project. If you just try to avoid conflict by doing what they ask, it can change a project's scope. This may lead to delays and overspending. Instead, you should discuss each request and consider how it will impact scope before going ahead. Misunderstandings can change a project scope if they affect what work is done, how long this takes, or how people on the project team understand requirements. So when you define scope, you need to be especially careful to avoid ambiguity or unclear statements. These can lead to conflict and costly delays or changes later. By learning to recognize these causes, you can mitigate the risks they pose to a project.